My presentation is on rethinking the value of ACT and SAT test scores in college admissions. The recent college admissions scandal has brought many people aware of the unfairness of college admissions in today's society. A lot of the colleges that were involved in this scandal were prestigious elite colleges that many people look to in measures of education, and so this is a huge thing that brought to attention the unfairness of college admissions. And in this scandal, there's a story of a mother who paid someone $20,000 to take the ACT for her son, who falsely claimed he had a learning disability. So this is a really big extremity that this mother did to get her son to have this high test score and get into the college that she wanted. So from this we can see, from all these stories of the scandals, that ACT and SAT have a lot of weight in college admissions, and colleges should realize that they shouldn't be telling students that the measure of their ability is because of their test scores. My research is directed towards Jeremiah Quinlan, Yale University's Dean and Admissions Officer, and I chose Jeremiah Quinlan because Yale University was one of the colleges that was involved in the scandal of this year, so he would be very well acquainted with this scandal and would have heard the people and their concerns with college admissions. He also has a really big say on the admissions of students because he's the officer and director of all of it. So he would be able to change the way that ACT and SAT are looked at on admissions. Yale University should put less value on ACT and SAT's test scores and admissions because they are biased and inaccurate. One of the ways they are biased and inaccurate is because of tutoring and preparation. ACT and SAT test scores are quickly becoming nothing more than a number because of these expensive test preparation and tutoring. The scores are becoming meaningless because people are starting to buy their scores, and people that have a lot of money or parents that have a lot of money will pay for their children to have the highest test scores, whether that is through tutoring or online classes. Fair Test is the National Center for Fair and Open Testing, and they've come out with a lot of research, and one of the things they found was that ACT and SAT scores are easily gamed by those with financial means. So what this means is that people who are privileged and have a lot of money can get those higher test scores, and it's becoming more of a game than an educational test. So the article, Another College Expense Preparing for the SAT and ACT from the New York Times said that an online video tutoring class called Arbor Bridge is a 60-hour class that costs around $9,000. This price is more than the average cost of in-state tuition and fees at a 4-year public university. So from this we can see how expensive tutoring can be, and in this case, this online class is the same price as going to college, which is super expensive, that a lot of people that don't have these advantages can't afford. So another bias of ACT and SAT scores is race. We have seen in our education a big problem with educational achievement gaps, and that students that have more privileges, that come from more white backgrounds, have a lot more advantages to getting better test scores than those of minorities. And so people are calling this an educational achievement gap, and it's becoming bigger and bigger as the years go by. And it's a problem that can be fixed with putting less weight on the ACT and SAT. The ACT Incorporation, the actual official ACT Incorporation, came out with a study of the percent of 2014 and 2018 ACT tested high school graduates meeting 3 or more benchmarks by race or ethnicity. So from this chart we see that white students and Asian American students are way higher than the rest of students who are getting super low scores and not meeting that many benchmarks. And so we can see that this could quite possibly be linked to the wealth that these top 2 races are coming from, that they are getting more advantages and maybe from more money that is getting them better scores. And then you can see that just minorities aren't having that much of an opportunity to get good scores. So this is from Yale University's site, and the of their students. So we can see that 71% of their students at their school are white, and that is a huge percent, and that could be linked to the amount of, or the people that they are, the majority of people that they are admitting into their colleges are white, and as little as 2% of these other minorities are being accepted. So that could be linked to advantages as well, because the white people could have more income and provide their students with more preparation classes to get those higher scores, and maybe that's why there's more accepted, was because their scores were higher. So how well do these tests really test knowledge? ACT and SAT tests claim to test knowledge, but they don't capture all of the qualities that makes up a student that you can't see behind the test score. Another one of FAIR Test's outcomes of their studies shown that the scores reward quick answers and do not measure deeper creative thinking in any field. So all that the test is doing is having students look at the test scores and answer them within a certain time limit, but they aren't getting the deep creative thinking or anything that is actually really valuable in college that you can't see on those scores. So if there's a lot of weight placed on these scores, then you're missing all the rest of the parts of the student. So this is actually from an article of called University of Chicago Stops Requiring ACT and SAT Scores for Prospective Undergraduates, and it says that 4 years of high school is a better predictor than 3 hours in a testing room. So that just goes along with what I was saying, that you can't capture 4 years of high school in just one little test score, and if we're placing that much weight on it, we're missing out on the rest of a student. So there's a really popular thing called test optional admission processes, and a lot of colleges have been switching to this and have been finding a lot of success. A study done on test optional proved that a well-executed test optional admission policy can lead to an increase in overall applicants, as well as an increase in the representation of URM underrepresented minority students. So test optional could very well help with the educational achievement gap. With students threatening to sue Yale because of this recent admission or scandal, test optional could be the light at the end of the tunnel. So this is just one of the many options that you could take to make the weight of ACT and SAT lighter on admissions, and it could help Yale maintain its reputation by going test optional. Though Yale University claims to look beyond a test score, the range of ACT scores at their school is between 33 and 35, the top percentile of scores. So the majority of people that are accepted are between 33 and 35, which is a very high ACT score range, and parents or students that are looking at this to get into this college are thinking that Yale will only look at their score if it's between these two numbers, and so people will get the wrong idea, thinking that that score is what defines them and is what will help them get into Yale. So though they claim to look at other things besides the ACT, the 33 to 35 range shows otherwise. Jonathan Wyatt, a professor from the University of Arkansas, says, people right now are thinking, oh gosh, the SAT is gameable, let's get rid of it. But it turns out the test is highly reliable, and to remove one objective piece of an admissions package could have unintended consequences. So I agree with Jonathan that that the ACT and SAT can be really valuable measures of a student, but I'm not saying we should get rid of the test, but we should readjust the weight and value of the test. There are a lot of things that are good about the test that we can see, but it shouldn't be the only thing or the overweighted thing that we would be looking at in college admissions. So to maintain Yale's good reputation, they should look beyond the score, and John Bockenstedt said, it is the high-profile colleges that have the power to redefine the admissions process. So if Yale University makes a difference, others will follow because they're prestigious and elite, and they set the boundaries for other colleges. Other colleges look at them, and they will have the impact that colleges will need to make this push to go to test optional or to put less weight on the ACT and SAT during admissions. So that is the end of my presentation, and here are my resources that I used.